Hello there, and welcome back into Integrative Health Simplified podcast. My name is Carrie, and I'm so glad that you're back with me for another episode, or maybe you just found me and this is the first episode that you're listening to. Either way, hello, so glad that you're here. So we are in season 1 on episode 8, and we are in the series still, Simple Swaps for Your Regular Routine. And so when I was thinking about this topic, I could not include the topic of today's conversation because I feel that it is so very important and oftentimes overlooked. And so the episode title is Everything is Better with Butter. So of course we're going to be talking about butter and why it's really essential for healing and adding into your diet and what oftentimes we see in the place of butter. So as you know, probably, maybe not, I live in the South. And so butter is something that you would probably associate with cooking in the South. However, oftentimes when I go over to friends' houses or I go to family members' houses and, they're cooking or I ask, hey, do you have any butter? Guess what gets pulled out of the fridge? Not a stick of butter. It's actually a container that says Country Crock on it. And I have a lot of grace because if you don't know, you don't know. However, Country Crock is not butter. Never will be. If you were to look on the side of the container, if it's butter, it should say cream and salt, basically, is the main things that it should say on there. Not a list of 50 plus different ingredients that's used to make margarine, which oftentimes people think in their mind like this is butter, but actually it could not be further from real butter. And so I just want to preface this conversation by saying I take my butter seriously. I have like a whole butter crock and I love my butter. I like my butter soft. I like it grass fed, like all the things. Call me bougie. I don't know, but I just take my butter seriously. So let's talk about why that is. And I don't really think that I have to convince you that everything is better with butter. Butter tastes delicious. And so let's talk though and kind of back it up. Like why at a basic level are fats really necessary? So fat is an essential nutrient. You can't live without fat. Like we need fat. 60% of our brain is fat. Fat is also required for a lot of the absorption of the food that we take in. It has a ton of different fat-soluble vitamins that are really key for a lot of other processes in the body. Vitamins like A, D, E, and K are really crucial to like mineral balance in general. And so when we leave out those in the form of animal fats, which are the most complete fats, you start seeing things trickle down and have an effect from that. So fat plays a crucial role in digestive function and immune function, endocrine, and cardiovascular function. So in other words, butter helps your heart. Butter helps your brain. Butter helps your sex drive. Butter helps your muscles. It can kill cancer. There's been studies showing that it can. And it also helps improve your mood. So that should be reason enough for you to consider, am I eating real butter or not? Do I have Country Crock that I need to throw out the window? How can I prioritize getting this healthy fat in? Should be on your radar after hearing that list. Now, I'm sure there are other benefits, of course, but those are some really big benefits to eating more butter and getting those good fats in. Because the thing is, our body knows what to do with real food, as nature intended. It doesn't know what to do with fake food. And margarine in any form is fake food. That is not real food. Butter is made from cream. Cream comes from cows. So these are things that God gave us, these animals that God gave us to use for our benefit as far as our health is concerned and our just well-being. And so when we stray from that, things start to happen that aren't necessarily intended. Like that's not the way nature intended us to consume butter in the form I'm doing I'm putting that in quotations, butter in the form of margarine, right? That those are two completely different things. So this is something that you might already know. You might already eat and love real butter, please continue to do that, because the thing is, if we don't consume these healthy fats, we actually, and we consume in place of them something like margarine. Not only do they lack these vital nutrients that I mentioned, they can actually withdraw nutrients from the body and promote fat deposition over fat utilization. So that means that our body stores fat differently, and it actually leads to a lot of inflammation in our body. And so when we do consume fats in this real food form, they actually increase our satiety. They increase the way that we feel full after a meal, right? This is something I see a lot in people that, in clients that I see, and just myself and others around me. It's like, I just feel like I want a snack all the time. They're not satisfied after they eat a meal. This is a really big cue that something is off with the way that they're eating. This could be a really big key for you. I know that there's a lot of misinformation around cholesterol and butter specifically, and like eggs, you could definitely throw in there, and red meat and things like that. But actually, butter can lower your bad cholesterol if combined with like a real whole food diet, right? I think that you have to put it in context with other lifestyle factors. Is you can't really single out something like butter and say this would increase your cholesterol in a negative way. I think you have to look to see what are the other factors that are going on in someone's lifestyle and diet, to see, what might be the breakdown and why their cholesterol is the way it is. But with within a lifestyle that is very health promoting, butter can be a great addition to that. It actually does boost your immune system. Earlier, I mentioned that it has a lot of great fat soluble vitamins, vitamin D being one of those, that we know that there's a connection there with the immune system. But vitamin A also has a really key connection in with your immune system as well, and with mineral balance in general. A lot of us are deficient in vitamin A. So that's really key. And then balancing hormones is something that I hear a lot about, right? I want to balance my hormones. I see that a lot on inquiry forms that people send in, and that they want to work together, and they're just feeling really sometimes helpless, hopeless with their hormones, just because they've been out of balance for so long, and they're just having a lot of issues that they feel are connected to their hormones. But just a little mini break to talk about hormones here for just a second. So balancing hormones is something that your body doesn't necessarily prioritize until it feels safe, until it feels like it's at a place that it can. Because really, on the hierarchy of your body's ability to survive, when it's in a survival state, hormones are not going to be prioritized at all. You can put other things in that category, like digestion as well, right? Your body is literally in its mind, okay, I need to survive. I'm in survival mode. These things are going to be shelved. They're going to be put to the back until I can focus on these things whatsoever. And so balancing hormones is something that is sort of a long game thing, right? Whenever we start to shift some of these things in our lifestyle and in the way that we, just approach health, if you will, it's sort of a multidimensional thing. Your body will, over time, start to feel safe in abundance. You're giving it the right amount of calories that it needs in the form of real food. You're resting, those types of things, right? You're decreasing the stress load. It's going to then think, okay, I can start balancing hormones. I can start thinking about this. I can start prioritizing this. So it starts with something little, like, I know, like, what does butter have to do with hormones? However, in the whole, in how your body makes hormones, it needs fat. It needs fat in the form of real whole foods, specifically animal fats, which butter is. And so this is one of the really big keys in starting that process of your body feeling safe, so that it can start the hormone balancing journey, because hormones are kind of the last on the train to get balanced, from what I've seen and what I've read and studied. So it starts with little things like this: swapping out what you consume as your fat source, prioritizing fat, all of those things. It really starts here in balancing your hormones. So if you want to balance your hormones, make sure you're eating butter, right? This should be good news. Throw out the margarine and throw out the, highly processed oils and replace them with butter. Your hormones will be happy. Your body will be happy. So, just a few other things to keep in mind when you think about butter. Butter is actually a prime vehicle to help the absorption of nutrients in the body. So including it in meals that you cook can actually help you to absorb the nutrients from those foods that you're eating better, especially vegetables. This is really key to cook your, most of the time, cooking your vegetables in butter or adding butter after you cook is going to be really important to help your body absorb those nutrients better. Butter can actually help balance out your blood sugar in the way that it helps with the absorption of these nutrients and also the response that it has on insulin. So that's something that's really key as well. And so, friends, we got to ditch the margarine. Super important. It's not the same. It can actually cause inflammation in your body. So just get the real stuff. Just really quick note on, I know we've been talking about margarine, but there are other inflammatory oils that can sneak in a lot of ways into our home. Canola oil is one really popular oil that has been, touted as like a heart healthy oil, but it's definitely, in my opinion, in the same category as something like vegetable oil or margarine, things like that. It's just highly processed. And so these things can actually cause a lot of inflammation in your body. They're highly processed. They're oxidized. They go rancid in the body very quickly. And so you can sort of contrast that with something like butter that has saturated fat. It's actually very stable in the body and it maintains its structure when heated, which if we consume something, obviously our body is warm. It's a warm environment. So that's what I mean by heated. So that's why saturated fats are a lot more stable than something like margarine or canola oil, or, there are a lot of others that can fit in that category, but just two completely different things. So I'm actually going to, because I get this question a lot, I'm going to put in the blog post that I'll have this podcast episode and YouTube video linked with. I'll put that blog post link in the show notes and then the description of this video. But I'll actually have the recommendations I have for which oils to cook with, because that's a question that I get often. I'm not going to go through it on here. So if you want to, you can kind of go over to that blog post, take a little screenshot of it to save on your phone. But it's important to know which oils are going to be best for baking, for cooking, higher temperatures, for stir frying, those types of things, and obviously some of these oils, if you're using them in a salad dressing or just drizzling them over something and they're not heated, there are other oils that would be best in that scenario as well. So there are other options rather than butter. However, this is one that to me has the most nutritional benefit as far as if I think about adding to a dish or cooking with, I'm going with butter unless, I'm cooking at a higher temperature and it's not going to work very well for me. So I'm going to include those in the blog post that I have attached to this podcast episode. So your big takeaway for today is you need to go and check out which oils you're bringing into your home to cook with. If you have that tub of country crock, you know better now. Chunk it. I'm not for wasting. However, in this instance, I would encourage you to just throw it in the garbage and get some butter on your next grocery run. Okay. Take my word for it. Your body is going to thank you. One more note on this is that we need to be looking at our ingredient labels to see which oils are added to different processed foods that we bring in, different prepackaged foods, because especially with a lot of the healthier options, they use canola oil all the time or another type of oil like that. And so this is really important to look at on your ingredient labels. So turn over the box, look at it, be aware of what's in your food. This is why it's so much easier to me and often a lot more affordable to just focus on eating real food, not processed food in a box. However, I get that we have snacks and we have things that we want to buy. But that's just something that I want to encourage you to do, is just look at the ingredient label and see which oils might be sneaking in those forms. And of course, change out the oils that you're buying to cook with as well. So that's your big takeaway for today. Let me know if you have any questions about this. I'd love to just continue the conversation with you offline, off the podcast episode. I'll have ways that we can connect in the show notes. And if you're watching this in the YouTube video form, I'll of course have ways we can connect in the description of this video. I'll see you guys on the next episode.